Welcome to the final episode of VSTML 2012 Recaps from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Armstrong, and joining me as always is a Canadian who thankfully doesn't get grumpy when things don't go his way, like, all of his predictions, Logan Saunders.
Good afternoon.
And the guy who we're always suspicious of when he's wrapped around a pole, David Bindley.
Yes!
No.
I thought Stephen Fry was the mole.
Look, I mean, it probably would have been closer for you.
Yeah, channeling that last challenge, Bindles. Did Logan get close to who the mole was this time?
No.
Did we find it delightful every week when he didn't predict it was Anna Marie?
Yes.
Good, just checking. Immediate thoughts, Saunders? I mean, you were incredibly quiet on our chat about your lack of successful predictions.
Yeah, I got it wrong again. At least I didn't suspect Nadia for half the episodes this time, and I didn't do as badly as I did the previous season.
By one.
By one, yeah. But after watching the reunion episode, I felt better because Anna Marie was actually a fantastic mole this season. Yeah, I thought we always talk about how Euroan is the not so gold standard for being a mole in terms of just failure to adapt. I think Anna Marie's strength is she always read this group really well in every challenge.
Yeah, I didn't remember Anna Marie being this good a mole. She's certainly got a reputation of being a solidly not great mole, but on a rewatch, she was hampered by production, I think. I think a lot of the negatives that people have for her moliness is because she had the opportunities from production to sabotage them directly, like with the Hofty House.
Yeah.
But when she was given the opportunity to do it on her own, like with the archery, she was fantastic.
I think the problem Anna Marie has is basically the two big sabotages everybody remembers are two things where, it's not really her, it's we're doing this, you're going to be the piece that makes the thing happen. Like, with the plane wreckage and the Hofty House.
Yeah.
Pretty much doesn't matter who the mole is in those situations because production's already set up the sabotage.
I mean, your own would still fuck it up. Let's be real.
Oh, of course. Your own would be sitting inside the plane until somebody got there and found it. But like when you do things like the archery, like the chalk, like jet boats categories, I think where she was able to use her own personality to sort of inform how she went about her sabotages, I think she was much more successful in those bits.
Yeah, going back to what we've said in previous seasons, the best moles are ones who their moliness feels like an extension of their personalities. And when Anna Marie gets the opportunity to do sabotages that are just an extension of her personality, she's way better as a mole.
Yeah, I didn't even really take into account the assistance in the Hofty House sabotage as soon as they show the clip of her being able to listen on the other conversations. It's like, okay, this doesn't really count for her or against her. This is essentially a production setup, and then same thing with the plane where it's like that was completely set up too. But with like this, for instance, the bow and arrow one was one of the more impressive sabotages where the evidence is right there that she didn't turn the money, yet she was just able to read the situation and successfully take credit for it. I
will say, at least with the Hofty House, she still had to predict how the others were going to vote. Like, yes, the earpiece was too much. I think, you could take the earpiece out and basically just make it, she's got to predict what Fritz is going to do, what Liesbeth's going to do, etc. I think that would have been a much more interesting sabotage, but the earpiece is a better reveal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the earpiece is a purely televisual choice, I would say. But she did all the legwork in Hofty House. Like, Hofty House is overshadowed by the earpiece, but the earpiece still wouldn't have worked on its own. It had to have her do the legwork of successfully predicting who was actually going to do it, because nobody was being honest in those negotiations.
Yeah. It's a bit like Class with the hidden key on the cliff. Like, yes, the key's there, and it's set up for him to basically, break the challenge as soon as he gets up the cliff. But he's still got to get himself into a position where they send him up the cliff.
Yeah.
It's like a production-assisted sabotage. It's not a production-forced sabotage.
Yeah, 100%. And correct me if I'm wrong, Bindles, but I think next season,
Yep.
The mole doesn't really have that many production-induced sabotages from memory. Certainly not the big ones.
I don't remember any, but it's been years since I watched it.
Yeah, the big sabotage I remember from that season in South Africa 1 is entirely the mole doing stuff off their own back.
Yeah.
Which is right at the end. I'm assuming you know the one I'm referring to. Like, the mole in South Africa does something amazing that you'd never, ever guess until it's revealed. And you go, holy shit, how did they get away with that?
Yeah.
And I like how by the end of episode 1, when they show all of Anna Marie's sabotages, that she says, you know what? This group isn't terribly sharp. There's going to be challenges where they're going to fail completely on their own. If I just let them do most of the work, I don't even have to do anything and we're going to lose the challenge. So, for instance, like Martin not knowing his own time, that he would be suspicious for that. So she just says, oh, you know what? I'll just bail out of this challenge early because I know we're not going to succeed. Oh, what was the other one? Oh, the glacier one, of course, where she said, no one knows how to read a compass or count steps, so that'll be easy for me to pick up the negative tubes, because no one really know. Fritz was the only one who had some sort of a handle on where to direct people, and that was it.
Yeah, like I know we give a lot of stick to moles like you, Rowan, who don't do anything, but I think there's a difference between not doing anything in a challenge that's winnable and not doing anything in a challenge that you have no chance in because everybody else is incompetent.
Yeah. There's a difference between a great mole televisually and a great mole generally. And I think Anna Marie, certainly a lot of her sabotages fall into the latter category rather than the former. She doesn't really do too much flashy stuff, apart from the bull, which, just spoilers for later in the episode, Saunders, we did lead you towards her doing that in that episode. It got to the point where me and Bindles were going, yeah, we need to point it in the right direction slightly. And you did even say the mole was probably the person who wrote on the head of the bull, and you didn't connect it. Just spoilers for that, because me and Bindles, after you'd dropped off the recording, we were talking about that afterwards, and we went, seriously, he's a no-hoper at this point. We led him to this.
I think the funniest thing with the bull is, like, after the wreckage in the Hofty house, the one sabotage I remember from this season is her throwing away the chalk because it's just so blatant and so in your face. The problem is, because she does that, the group ends up making €1,000. Because, like, I think if they had the chalk, they probably would have written more words down, and they would have maybe tried for the 100 and just missed out. Where I think not having the chalk made them a little bit more
cautious.
Yeah, a little bit easier for them to predict that they didn't have the €100. So they just like, well, we'll take the free, 50 words or whatever it was, because we've definitely got that, but we won't go for the extra one. And I think if they'd sort of put themselves in a situation where if they had maybe 2 or 3 more words, they probably would have gone for the extra one, and they would have won nothing instead of €1,000. So I think that one weirdly ended up making them money.
I think the unspoken thing about that challenge in particular is production probably told Anna Marie to back off a little bit, given how low the pot was. This isn't the era of them being satisfied with $7,000 pots.
I was thinking too with that nighttime generator challenge where she said they were screwing up even before I got out on the field, because Liesbeth and Tim, I guess, had the infamous moment with them is that the cord was too short, and then Art said, I don't know if you guys knew this, but the cord was, as per the intro, the cord was wrapped around a pole, and that's why it wouldn't reach. And then they're all like, oh, we didn't even know that was the mistake that we made. So that's a case where, again, Anna Marie completely backed off, but the group just had such a tough time with these challenges this season that they didn't earn any money anyway.
Yeah. So, previously, the non-Hadewych semi-finalists tried to hide on a deserted plaza and take sneaky photos of her, but she rumbled them immediately. In a hay maze in a bull ring, they tried to escape a man in a bandana, while a high-stakes game of Go Fish confirmed Anna Marie is the first finalist. The last man standing, Tim, was convinced it wasn't Hadewych, and he was the last person and man sent home. And the final 3 are still upset about Tim going, and Hadewych gives him a eulogy. She misses him already.
This eulogy goes on forever.
Everything in this episode goes on forever, because there is nothing to it.
No.
You said a few days ago, oh, there's nothing in this finale, and I was watching it earlier just going, God, that was an understatement. There's like 40 minutes of filler in this episode.
Yeah, like there's one challenge, and like it sounds great that it's a 3-hour challenge, but 2.5 hours of that is, okay, let's work out what town we're going to and let's drive to that town. Like, the actual challenge part of the challenge doesn't happen until about 10 minutes left in the challenge.
It feels like a 3-hour challenge.
Yeah.
It feels like we're watching it in real time.
It's like 24. Except with a lot less action. But during the challenge, I was thinking, because I knew that the final test was at the Ronda bull ring, so I was thinking, she's in Ronda, and they're starting this challenge in Sevilla. That's a lot of driving for one challenge, which is exactly what it turned out to be. So the most interesting part, which is the running around within Ronda city center and along the bridge, that was only like 1% of the challenge itself.
Yeah. It didn't really get a decent showing this episode, Rhonda. Poor Rhonda.
No. It was unlucky Ronda rather than lucky Ronda this time. And no sodas, we didn't just do this season so that we could do more lucky Ronda jokes.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
So Art says the hunt is almost over and only one thing is certain already, and that is that the mole is a woman. She had 2 faces, the climax of which was the negotiations in the Hofty house. They still haven't recovered from it, and the pot is still lower than before they left Iceland. And the episode title is the most Australian episode title ever created. Yes, no, no, yes.
Even in my first note after the episode title appears on screen is lots of B-roll in this scene. That's what I wrote down in my notes.
God, it takes forever. It's a good, minute, and then it's a good minute later before we even get to the getting ready scene of just old Spanish people in a town square.
And just even Anna Marie and Hadewych recapping how much each of the 3 of them usually sleep before breakfast throughout filming. It's like, yes, it is relevant to the fact of them figuring out that Liesbeth has been kidnapped. But leading up to it, it's just, I was thinking if this was a 3 challenge episode, that would have been summarized in a much quicker fashion. And the fact that we see them go to the front desk and they keep walking around and then they go to Liesbeth's door and knock on her door, which definitely would have been, if they were genuinely worried about her, we would have watched them call the police, probably, or security. So, of course, this was definitely production-led.
Yeah, I love how they're surprised that Liesbeth didn't come down for breakfast. I'm more surprised by how they're clearly at their hotel breakfast buffet in the middle of summer, and there appears to be only one other person there in the room with them. I would think a hotel breakfast in a tourist town in Spain in summer, there would be more people around than that one person in the background.
Yeah, I do love how the intro to this challenge is basically just obviously production off air going, come on, go to the front desk. We don't have a lot of time for this. She's been locked in this bridge for an hour at this point. Just go and find the key so we can start it, for the love of God. Because it just feels like they would nudge towards that reception desk straight away. Just come on, you're taking forever right now.
Nudge them to the desk and then nudge them to knock on Liesbeth's door. That was definitely production interference there.
Yeah. So Anna Marie and Hadewych meet for breakfast. It's the first time they've had separate rooms. Anna Marie's been snoozing, but there's no sign of Liesbeth, and she's usually the first one down. And Hadewych says she was concerned as the night before. Liesbeth said she was tired, and she's worried that she's ill. And they knock on the door and there's no answer. Hadewych goes to reception to get a spare key, but it is waiting for them to find already. And when they open her door, they find her room empty and an envelope, car keys, and a phone waiting on the bed. And they've got 3 hours to find her to win the last €2,500 of the game. And the phone has Liesbeth's number on it, and she can only answer yes or no, and each call can only last 30 seconds, and they only get 10 calls total.
This was a cool challenge and concept. It just sucks that it was thrown in as the only challenge of an episode. And somehow, in Vidum history, this isn't even the hostage challenge that gets dragged out the longest, because we had to contend with that awful, awful, awful challenge that dragged on for an episode and a half in Renaissamce.
Yes, we did, and we are recording this 4 days before Renaissamce 2. And I cannot wait.
I will say, just on that note, it is interesting that they basically never do another single challenge episode again after this.
Yeah.
Starting next season, there's 2 challenges in the finale. I think the only other single challenge episodes are the opening episode of Georgia, which is such a complex challenge that, which, you need a whole episode for that.
It's basically 3 challenges rolled into one.
Yeah. So there's that. There's technically Elba. And I think, like, the final episode of one of the junior season that comes a couple of years after that is one challenge. But that's a 20-minute episode. Like, they never do really a one-episode challenge like this again.
It was Hong Kong, Philippines, or Czechia? Did they have a 1-episode finale?
No.
No.
Philippines was the mailboxes, and then the floating bottles or whatever it was.
Yeah, I remember the floating bottles. I forgot about the mailboxes.
Yeah. What you're thinking of is the fact that with Hong Kong, Philippines, there was a mid-episode final execution.
Yeah.
Oh, and then
we had a final 4 challenge, which was the mailboxes, and then a final 3 challenge.
Yeah, Sri Lanka.
That's where the confusion is.
Yeah. Czechia was
the caves, wasn't it?
The caves was the last challenge, definitely, but I can't remember what the one before it was. If only someone had a challenge guide.
Yeah, if only somebody remembered to open it up.
Yeah, the caves were definitely the last challenge, because I remember remarking at the time that it felt really abrupt because they had no chance of getting over 10,000 euros after that challenge.
Yeah, it's the one with the scooters and bikes, and then there's many challenges along the way, and then the cave.
But yeah, they aside from not learning their lesson for Renaissamce, yeah, you can definitely see that this finale episode did not go the way they wanted. You can't help but wonder if there was a secondary challenge that they weren't able to do for whatever reason, but
it's because it took so long to find the key.
Yeah, maybe.
They didn't even have time to get those planks out again from the fish puzzle.
Yeah, because Art never told them it was the final challenge or it was their last chance to earn money like he normally does. But they just took so long to find that fucking key at the start of the day. It's like, yeah, production time's over now. Shit, you're going to have to just go straight to the final test.
But you would assume that they wouldn't have cancelled the challenge given how historically low the pot was for 2012. That would just be mean to be like, oh yeah, you had 100% pot drain just a few episodes ago, and we're also cancelling another challenge for you to earn money.
It could have been something like Iceland was so expensive that they had to shift it, because it was a very last-minute decision to switch from Morocco to Iceland, I think. So maybe they had to rejig the challenges in Spain and go, oh, we can only actually fit one in that last episode now. Oh, well.
I suppose at least it was a challenge that took up a decent amount of time compared to the disguise thing.
Yeah.
Imagine if that was in the final episode. I couldn't even imagine what the filler would be like there.
Oh, we would have seen Tim try on every single outfit in that shop until he found the fucking flamenco dress.
Like he's Mr. Ben.
You know, the challenge was drawn out when I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, just from my own personal travel experience in southern Spain, that Hadewych successfully named every single town name in the whole Andalusia region of Spain.
It felt like it.
Marbella, Malaga, Benalmádena, Fuengirola.
Are you in a tourist town? Yes. Ah, fuck, I've got to read a list now.
The thing is, I would have thought the smart way to do that is, work out what letter the town starts with and just keep going like that and then cut it down. Surely within 30 seconds you can go, okay, does the town start with A through M? Is the second letter whatever? I would have thought you would have got enough information within 30 seconds to basically get it down to at least 1 or 2 towns rather than wasting 3 calls on that.
Yeah, the first question should have been, are you in a tourist town? The second question should have been, did you go north? Did you go east? Did you go south? Did you go west? When she says yes, you start moving in that direction, you ring her again, and you start narrowing the town down.
Yeah.
You need a direction to leave the hotel. That's the important thing.
It seems like they waited until they had the exact town until they left the hotel, which kind of defeats the purpose of the challenge a little bit.
Yeah. I think this challenge also slightly suffered from the fact it was Liesbeth who got kidnapped, because she was far too competent as a hostage here.
Yeah.
She knew what direction she travelled in. She knew exactly what information she needed to give. She was very sensible, to the point, forthright. And that's not what you want in this challenge. You want someone who's a bit chaotic.
I like Anna-Marie's one comment, which is, for all we know, she could be in Portugal. I've taken the bus from Portugal into Sevilla, and that is a very, very long ride.
I looked it up. It's about a 4-hour drive from Sevilla to Lisbon. And I'm like, even if that was possible, I don't think they would do 3 countries in one season. So, like, you can basically rule out half the map. And then, if you know you're not going west to Portugal, that narrows down the options for towns even more, really.
And also, more importantly, they're not going to dump her in the middle of nowhere and make you find it out using yes/no questions. It's going to be a fairly large landmark, probably.
Yeah. It's like when Australia 6 did this. Number one, they did it with 9 people left, which is absolutely insane. But, like, they didn't give the extra people anything to do. It was just more people sitting in the cars. But they sort of did exactly the same thing here, where it's like, okay, we need to stick them, say, 2 hours away, but, like, in a really obvious place. So they started them on the Great Ocean Road, and then the hostages were on the busiest street in Melbourne. Like, the driving is supposed to be the interesting part of this challenge, and twice now they've done this challenge in a way that the driving is the boring bit.
I like how just because they were 2 women driving, I put this in my notes and I already told you guys about this. There are 2 women driving, they put on some music, and I wrote in my notes, oh, who the hell are they? Thelma and Louise? And then sure enough, because it's Vidum where they go for the most obvious reference possible to, Hadewych says, we felt like Thelma and Louise. And it was like 2 seconds after I wrote down that note. And I'm thinking, yep, that tracks for Vidum.
My favourite comment is right before that as well. It is Anna Marie saying she's struggling with driving a manual because her Jaguar is an automatic and she can operate it with her thumb.
I mean, there is kind of a difference between a Jaguar and a beat-up VW Combi.
There is. But also, how much money do you have to go, yeah, my Jaguar is a bit different to this? And also, how much money do you have to drive a Jaguar in the Netherlands? Famously not very car-friendly, for the most part.
I was about to say, maybe that's why people don't drive cars there if everyone just drives with their thumbs.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, maybe that's why everyone was forced to switch to bicycles in the Netherlands. Once everyone was driving with either their thumb or their pinky, it's like, this could be hazardous once the cities get a bit more crowded.
I suspect Anna Marie is quite well off, even by Dutch standards.
Yeah, I think we certainly got that implication this week. That she's not suffering for money, shall we say.
Yeah.
So the journey takes about 1.5 to 2 hours, so they decide not to ring her during the journey so as to not waste their calls and also not to irritate her. Whereas we cut to Liesbeth, and she's getting very irritated at not hearing a word from them.
I like how Hadewych asked a really stupid question, because it's supposed to be just yes or no questions. And one of the questions she asks is, are you inside or outside?
Yes?
It's like, try again there, Hadewych.
So Hadewych finds out that she's in an old building and there are signs pointing towards it, and it's in the historic centre of Runda. Anna Marie takes a wrong turn towards the artistic district, and she says that Hadewych can get grumpy if things don't go her way. Very interesting comment based off of what we know from the reunion, that Hadewych was pregnant, and very pregnant by this point. She was probably, by this point, about 4 months along.
It's a good thing that production didn't take the pregnant lady hostage.
Yeah.
Oh no, they just threw her off a bridge and got people to shoot her with paintballs.
Yeah, Hadewich's adventures this season kind of get put into a new light when you realise she was pregnant.
Yeah.
Because, abseiling, climbing up a bridge, being shot with paintballs.
Having to carry a giant bull.
Yeah, doing all the adrenaline junky things, including carrying the bull. You don't really want a pregnant lady doing that, necessarily. I know she wasn't that far along, and it was her choice whether to go and all that sort of stuff. But it's another liability that production probably didn't want when they've had to rapidly change their first location.
Maybe one of the challenges they had to cancel in the finale was a wine tasting challenge, where it's like, yeah, I don't think we want to be liable for a baby ending up with FASD, so let's avoid that situation.
I probably should have paid attention to this, but what was she drinking at the final meal? Because I know Liesbeth and Anna Marie definitely had red wine, but I didn't spot what Hadewych was drinking.
Juice.
I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, because I'd forgotten that she was pregnant, so I didn't pay attention to it when I was watching the finale. Interesting.
And yes, where Liesbeth was held hostage, I stayed very, very close to that building.
You slept in a cupboard there, I believe it was, didn't you?
Yeah, slept, the cupboard under the stairs.
You told that story on your Instagram earlier, I couldn't resist.
Yeah. And yes, the bridge there is from the Ernest Hemingway novel For Whom the Bell Tolls. And I
For
spent a
whom the
lot of
bell
time
molls,
around
I
that
think you'll find.
bridge. For Whom the Bell Molls, yes.
And
Pardon me.
annoyingly, I've already used that as a title.
Ah, I see. I said the title of this episode. It all ties together.
Yeah, I have previously used that as an episode title a few years ago. Hadewych seemingly was drinking lemonade at the final meal.
Oh, and this is when I began doubting myself, is when they were right before they finished driving. Anna Marie takes a completely unexpected left turn. I thought, I screwed this
Yeah.
up. No, I wrote that in my notes as soon as the left-hand turn came, like, wait, that did not make sense for her to do. I've blown another season.
I love how like weirdly specific the questions start getting when they're in Rhonda. Like they go from, are you in this town to do the signs pointing to the building you're in have a little picture of a building on them?
At that point, they thought they had like 6 calls left, so they're just like, let's just ask something really specific.
Yeah.
So they got 5 minutes left and dump the van in the middle of the street, and they identify her location as the Puente Nuevo, and that she is inside it. Liesbeth can't open the balcony to warn them, but they manage to successfully reunite, and they describe it as being like they liberated a country after 3 years.
Is that the only landmark in Rhonda?
And the bullring, but they couldn't get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are the only 2 major ones, because everything else just you don't really visit any other specific buildings in Rhonda.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking because Amazing Race went to Rhonda in one of the COVID seasons, and somehow they did a one leg in Rhonda and managed to go to that bridge twice.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Like they did a clue at the top at the start of the episode, and then the pit stop was at the bottom or something like that.
Below it, yeah.
Yeah, like they could not find anything else to do in that city.
Well, it's just such a small place.
Yeah.
To walk from one end of Rhonda to the other, like to walk from the bridge to where the city starts, is probably only 20 minutes or so. And then, because the main thing is to like walk the trail that's below the bridge.
Yeah.
And then near the bridge, you have a couple of those Moorish style buildings there, but there's really nothing to see in there, which they also showed on The Amazing Race. So yeah, there's not much to do for the specific sightseeing since it's such a small area.
So Art welcomes them to Rhonda, where the reveal will also happen. He also confirms that they succeeded in finding her within 3 hours, meaning they earned €2,500 of 2,500 for the challenge in the episode, and €12,601 of 70,200 for the season as a whole.
It's just nice that Anna Marie still has her weird Jennifer Coolidge run.
Well, you had to get in one final challenge before she's revealed.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't going to be running through the bull ring like she's unhunted.
These bulls, they're trying to murder me.
And you know that this is a very drawn-out finale, because this challenge doesn't really occupy that much running time in the episode, even though it feels like a drawn-out challenge, or even though it is a drawn-out challenge in terms of its airtime, because Art proceeds to recap every single player that was eliminated from this season, which I don't think has ever happened before in Vidum.
It does really amuse me, because obviously these subs sort of appeared and disappeared because TDS did. And Bindles has thankfully got them all saved. So we've been working off a link that's separated into the various challenges and stuff. And it's like 1201A, the plane challenge, 1201B, such and such, and all that. But the final 2 episodes were 1209A, hostage, 1209B, 1209C, 1209D, 1209E, nothing. And I think that perfectly sums up this episode, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I know it wasn't deliberate to sum it up that way, but it really tickled me when I'm like, yeah, that really does quite sum it up, that there are 4 parts of this episode where nothing happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, all other episodes this season were 3 challenges, right?
Yeah, it's 20, as they said in
they said 25,
in the
right?
final meal, they said 25 challenges. So it's 8 episodes of 3 challenges and then 1 of 1.
Yeah, so it's so bizarre that they have 8 3-challenge episodes and then just 1 that's only 1 challenge, especially when there's only 3 people left in the game too.
Is this the first year they did like the props in the final test, or was that El Salvador?
They did that in El Salvador, Nicaragua, definitely.
Yeah.
Because I remember them walking around the church or the manor house where they did the test and reveal.
Because I wonder whether maybe they were like treating that as a second challenge, but it's not interesting enough to be a separate thing.
I must admit, I do quite like it.
Oh, I like it. I just don't think it's interesting enough to fill 10 minutes of a finale watching the three people go through that section one at a time.
It's not enough to fill 10 minutes of the episode, but what it does is it solves a more recent fan complaint, which is that we never really see what the questions on the test are anymore. Whereas if you have them as a special thing for the final test, walking around and doing basically a Path of Temptation, but with the final test, that's quite interesting because it then allows them to do the usual reminiscing backstory bullshit, but do it in a more organic way, I think. So the actual content itself isn't interesting necessarily, but from a production standpoint, it allows them to fulfill what they usually do of doing all the flashbacks and all that sort of stuff, but in a much more organic way to the show rather than it being very tacked on and very drawn out like this episode as a whole ended up being.
Yeah.
And it also means that we do know 10 of the final questions, which we don't normally do anymore, which I think is interesting.
I counted 12.
No, Hadewych had 2 of the previous ones. Yeah, so the 10 that we were told about specifically in the episode, because we saw 12, but Hadewych had two repeats from previous ones.
Yeah.
I think she had the generator and one other, and I can't remember which one it was. Were which board them all worked on during the River Jet, who they negotiated with the Hadewych House, what they did with the archery, what team they were on for the painting challenge, that was the other one Hadewych had, the route they drove, where they stood on the waterfall climb, what position they entered the generator game in, what they got from the Western set, which parents they had to identify. No, there's 11 actually. Where the mole was in the ammunition depot at the start, and what the mole wore on the square.
Yeah.
Those are the 11 that we are told about.
Yeah.
I seem to remember from El Salvador, Nicaragua, there were 15 that season as the walkabout route. So presumably it's the same again here. They don't do it from South Africa onwards, I think. Like, it's only twice they do this. I think South Africa's entirely on the train from memory. But again, as you said earlier, it's years since I've seen that season. And spoilers if we do ever do that for Historian Saunders, we're not comparing Suspicions that season because it is the worst I've ever done on Suspicions, and I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, then we have to do that season.
Nope. I was so wrong on that season. So they get ready for the final test and reveal. Anna-Marie's going for one person for the first time. Hadewych isn't the mole. She started off quiet like the Mona Lisa of the group, which is a bit of an insult, given that is basically calling her an overrated piece of shit with terrible style and dead shark eyes and smirk like she's hiding a dick. And she got more fanatic and passionate.
Bravo.
A mole would never do that. I'll be honest, I only did this segment of my notes to do that reference because Popstar Never Stop Never Stopping is one of the best films of the last decade. I genuinely have Mona Lisa on my liked songs on my Spotify, and I do sing along to it in the car.
Anyway, Liesbeth comes up with a dumb analogy about how everyone is like the magnetic carriages of a wooden toy train, as though wood is magnetic.
Yeah, I presume that's just her history as a kids' TV presenter, to be honest.
Yeah, probably.
I like how all 3 of them absolutely hated being in Iceland. In fact, this whole cast hated being in Iceland. They said, Iceland is beautiful, but it was way too cold and miserable and windy. And you can just tell that they were just trying to be polite to production talking about Iceland. But none of them are ever going back to Iceland in their lifetime.
No. Imagine how cold and windy it has to be to annoy Dutch people.
I do wonder if they found out that it was meant to be Morocco by that point. So they're like, you made us swap from a nice warm place in summer to that? We were freezing.
I would have rather go to Northern Ireland again.
And be heckled by Peter Yan out of a helicopter.
Was Wales closed?
I like how Hadewych said that the smoke signals in Iceland, that was the toughest challenge for her because it nearly burned off her eyelashes. And we see the photo of her hiding behind Williams to block the wind from freezing her.
I believe the term that our esteemed colleague David Bindley used was that it looked like she was pegging him, and it is the banner for that episode. And Hadewych says that Anna-Marie was always her top suspect. She kept a distance from the group and never really wrote anything down. After a few days, she started asking the biography questions, very obviously, plus her red lipstick was like a red rag to a bull. She brought a second mole book with her to do cliff notes of each challenge, and has revised them.
Why would you not just stick that in the first book?
I don't know. Well, thinking about it, one of the memory techniques that you're taught when you're revising for stuff, using a hypothetical example of Jeopardy, for example, it's you write stuff down and then you keep writing it down because it gets in your memory quicker. So doing that manual action of writing it down gets it into your brain a lot quicker. So I presume it was a version of that. Obviously, she could have done it with the same book, but if you're using it as a reference in one hand and then writing it down in another, I kind of get that.
Yeah.
Plus, it's hella intimidating. If she sat there whilst they're all sort of doing the revision and she's looking at her notes and writing it down again, like that's really intimidating to everyone else.
Yeah.
It's not clearly stated in the reunion episode, but from what I gathered, the entire final 5 were onto Anna Marie as the mole.
I would guess so, yeah.
I think the implication is everyone was on the mole after Martin. Like, even Martin basically said he was playing the numbers. But, like, if you look at where Anna Marie was in the groups in that episode, if he was playing the numbers, he should have survived. So he must have really biffed up, like, the personal knowledge questions, which means everybody else was on her by that point.
It's interesting that they never confirm it, because this is one of the few reunions where they don't confirm who was on who.
Yeah. I don't remember if they even confirmed who should have gone home in episode 4.
No, they didn't. Not in the reunion, at least.
Yeah, like, I know that was sort of vaguely hinted that Marek going through cost them 10 grand, but it's not you would have gone home. It was, you got to see Spain, he got to see Spain, and one of you cost the group 11,000 euros.
Yeah, it's not actually confirmed on Wikipedia.
Hmm.
Who would have gone home, which means it's never been confirmed.
Probably Merritt, I would assume, since she went first.
Probably.
I would assume Merritt as well, but also I presume they've never confirmed it, because having a €10,800 bounty on your head probably wouldn't be that comfortable for them to be sitting there finding out about.
Yeah.
I think the implied knowledge is always going to be a lot more comfortable for William and Merritt than actually finding out, yeah, you cost the group nearly €11,000. So, it's time for the final test. 40 questions about the identity and actions of the mole all season long. Whoever knows most will return from Rwanda with €12,601 and unmask the mole. Their first questions consist of a stroll passing Iceland during the season, and they will choose their answers based on their mole and put a Topito down on their correct answer. Topitos, of course, did not feature at any other point this season.
No.
And they obviously head to the Ronda Bull Ring for the reveal, presumably the same one that every Spain set season in reality TV history has ever gone to.
Yeah, it's the same location Mole US 1 did their reveal.
Yeah. It did make me think. I mean, obviously we're recording this before België has even filmed, and this episode will be coming out probably about 2 weeks before België airs. I wonder if mainland Spain might be an option, because I feel like a lot of the Spain challenges here could have been done better by België. I know they did Canary Islands, 4-5 years ago at this point, by the time it airs. Given that they're probably going to do some sort of European set season, or at least one that's a bit closer to home, I could see them doing a mainland Spain season.
Certainly somewhere with less red tape than Thailand.
Yeah, because also they don't want to go to any cold locations in November or October, November when they film it. Presumably November, given that we've not had any indication that Gilles away at the moment. They're not going to go to Ireland off the back of that. Sorry, everyone who wants it, who's been talking about it the last week. They're not going to go anywhere cold. They're certainly not going to go to Iceland. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Spain, put it that way. Obviously, we'll know by the time that this episode comes out, hopefully, unless they really delay it.
And it's Equatorial Guinea. You're way off.
Well, Chewie do fly there. Chewie fly to the Gambia, Saunders. The Gambia is on the table here.
That would be something.
Before we get to the reveal, it's odd that, like, for the computer part of the final test, Liesbeth has to do hers outside under the bridge. Well, Anna Marie's in a nice room with a comfy chair, and Hadewych at least gets an enclosed courtyard.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is the first time ever, like, I've seen the final test be done in 3 separate, like, really different locations.
I wonder how much money Anna Marie paid so she could do hers inside.
In a comfy chair.
She had to let them ride her Jaguar.
Yeah, she only did the quiz with her thumb.
I also love how they made such a big thing in the dressing up scene of them all wearing their red heels, and then they take them to a bull ring where it's really not appropriate footwear for them to be walking across.
And I was joking about this with you guys in the chat, but I was thinking, yeah, We have 3 women in the finale for the first time in the mole season, and we get an extended scene of all 3 of them hugging the same bathroom mirror for several minutes.
I love how awkward Art is in his pre-reveal stuff.
Yeah.
Just being like, hey guys, oh wait, no, I can't say that, can I? Shit. I'm Jeff Probst from the next 10 years. Balls. Honorary guys?
I love how they spent so much time on watching them get ready, and yet, but when you get to the actual reveal, Hadewych's outfit looks like she's about to get booted off of Australian Idol 2004 before the live shows.
She looks like an early 2000s person evicted from Big Brother.
Yeah, like, considering A, European, and B, celebrity, they were not fancily dressed for this.
No. I was trying to think how best to describe her, but yeah. Early Australian Idol pre-finals is a brilliant way of describing how Hadewych was dressed. So Art predates Probst by about 10 years by correcting himself when he says guys, or is that appropriate with 3 women in front of me?
Should I call you chicks?
And
Birds!
the funniest thing is then he immediately defines what makes them one of the guys, and the first thing he says is pretty.
And then there's an editorial note from a narrator. Did you know that most of the producers on this show are men?
Hey, dolls.
Just goes into all film noir speech. Art's like, oh man, I don't know how to talk to a group of women, and this is my first season. Where's Angela? Help me, Angela.
Art is so lucky it's this decade because he would have got cancelled. He says he's got 2 actresses and a journalist in front of him, pretty, smart, talented and tough, 3 women who are one of the guys.
You just see him going through his words no, let's cross out nurturing. Let's not use nurturing in my speech.
Pairing,
let's not use motherly because that hasn't happened yet.
Now, is it horrible to say that they're bubbly? What about matronly? Does that have any implications?
What about shrill?
Harpies? No, can't say harpies.
No.
They're not social enough to be harpies.
I love how awkward this speech is because Art gets it down to a fine
art.
Yeah, a fine art appropriately by the end of his tenure as host. But he's just so awkward in this one, with it being his first one.
Yeah, you just see him just be like, oh my god, all 3 people I'm talking to have a vagina. What do I do? What do I do?
When life gives you lemons, make boobs.
So Hadewych's innocent looks camouflage her personality, which is determined, enthusiastic, and sensitive. She may be too sensitive, as she cried when others left, even Dio. Was it real sadness or guilt that she caused their exit? Liesbeth is curious, driven, sharp, and serious. She never judges a book by its cover, and that's a good trait for a journalist, a mole hunter, and also a mole. Was her search just a smokescreen? Are her pretty eyelashes hiding eyes that are hiding the truth? Again, creepy comment art. Anna-Marie lives life in exclamation marks. Fear, sadness, and joy. Her emotions aren't far from the surface. Her naivety may have come in handy. It's good cover as a mole. Maybe she's a better actress than we know, playing the role of a lifetime. One of these 3 is the mole, but who? Spoilers, Saunders didn't know.
Oh wait, there's another mystery. Who's the sneaky Tasmanian?
We'll get to that. Don't worry about that. Yeah, don't worry, Saunders. First, though, Let's get some of your wrong suspicions out, shall we? Who did you suspect going into episode 10, Saunders?
I thought Hadewych was going to win. Anna-Marie was going to be the runner-up, but I was really doubting myself at this point. And that Liesbeth was the mole, which apparently I don't feel as bad about because Art said during the reunion that half of the Netherlands suspected Liesbeth was the mole. So
half of the Netherlands didn't suspect Jeroen.
Yeah, but,
So you sent that to us. We record on a Tuesday evening. You sent that to us on Thursday morning at 12 minutes past midnight UK time. I said noted. There is a reason that I'm saying this. I said noted, and then 6 minutes later, you said, although my gut is telling me to switch to Anna-Marie. Now, Bindles and I were having a chat at this point. At 12 minutes past 12, Bindles said, yes, he got it wrong. I don't get how he thinks Hadewych wins if Anna-Marie isn't the mole. Then I posted the Kamala Harris gif of we did it, Joe. And then 6 minutes later, I just replied, no, ellipsis. Bindles said, fuck. I said, he's not allowed to change. We do have a no backsies rule, right?
Why do I feel like this is Big Brother and we're getting punished for discussing nominations?
It does feel like it. But that chat just really made me laugh. And I'm so relieved that you didn't switch Saunders because I now get to take the piss out of you.
Haven't you already?
Oh, no.
No.
No, unfortunately, because you didn't watch the reveal until today, I couldn't send the gif of Karine from Traitors going, shocked, question mark? She's a delight. We didn't get onto that. Traitors Canada episode 1 aired last week, and it was amazing.
Episode 2 airs today.
It does,
Ooh.
but we won't be able to discuss that until March.
Yeah. Oh man, then when can we discuss episode 3?
September.
Yeah. Yeah, it's every 6 months on the Traitors Canada chat, sorry. Fun fact, after we finish recording this episode, I'm going to watch the premiere of Swedish Traitors again. Swedish Traitors Season 4. Because that's a fun one.
Ooh.
Because that's aired last night.
I'm just waiting for Traitors India Season 2.
Rise and shine, Saunders.
Rise and shine! It's Doka time! Jahan trust rare, but Doka everywhere.
I love how you're so resistant to doing all the Dutch speeches, but you'll do fucking Hindi. Get your priorities straight, is all I have to say.
Now, Logan, do you know the Dutch title for this episode?
Ja? Nee? Nee? Ja?
No, we're on the reunion now.
Yeah, you die.
Oh, maar in Spanje.
That was worth it.
Was it?
So on to the reunion. Is this the first time they used the Vondelkirk?
I don't think so. Actually, maybe, because I think they used to use place in Lissa.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is Vondelkirk, because that looked like the spire in Vondelpark. But they never acknowledged that it's Vondelkirk. And to be honest, there's not a lot interesting in this reunion.
No.
Talking to all the losers, apart from Tim, weirdly.
William didn't get a question either.
No, he didn't, you're right.
Yeah, Art was just done with him by this point.
Yeah, both 4th and 5th didn't get talked to, but everyone else did.
And I just love that, like, all 5 of them got pretty much exactly the same question, which was, so Iceland sucked, right?
Apart from Martin, who was, right, your mathematical tactics sucked, right?
Or his jab at Marion. Marion, you were in it for only 1 episode. Did you still like it?
Was it fun watching from home, you loser? I wouldn't know about that, because I won last season.
Spain is for winners.
So the interesting stuff comes when the final 3 appear, and Liesbeth says that she was a bit sad knowing she was coming there, mainly because it's about to be all over. There'll be no more secrets anymore. Hadewych then rocks up 3 weeks and 3 days after giving birth. She found out she was pregnant right before leaving for the season, and still decided to go. I also found out, in doing a bit of digging on this, that she also got married in 2012, so she had a hell of a year.
Winter wedding baby.
Yeah, she got married, she gave birth, and she won Vies all in 1 year. Unfortunately, this wasn't the year when she released a single on Spotify, because that was 2016, I believe. Genuinely, if you search Hadewych Minis, it does come up.
Okay.
Did it make it higher on the charts than Dio's music?
It's called She Dances, and it was released in 2014, and it looks like she released a single called Invite You in 2012 at the end of the year. And she has, as of the time of recording, 991 monthly listeners.
So it's not a hit.
Her most popular single is Invite You with 335,000 streams on Spotify. Her second one is a cover of Don't You Forget About Me.
Too late.
That is very random.
Anyway, they pick up where they left off. Hadewych's speech actually ends with her not being the mole, but instead the winner. It didn't really sink in at the time, but it's starting to be real. And Hadewych winning leaves them with the 2 most suspected women in the Netherlands, Liesbeth and Anne-Marie. And I'll say this now, this is one of the rare finales of this era of Vidum where they don't reveal any of the roles in the finale. And that is because if they said Hadewych wins, everyone knows Anne-Marie is the mole, and nobody suspects Liesbeth anymore. Apart from Logan Saunders. And we get a flashback all the way through the season of their potential sabotages and the fact they suspect each other. And we head back to the wreckage of the plane and see the owl was stolen by Anne-Marie, and she's the mole.
I love that they didn't even try and hide it in this reveal package. Like they show her walking into the plane a full 10 seconds before we actually get the "oh, I'm the mole" thing.
Yeah, they're not subtle at all.
No, well, I did get a little bit of a laugh in the just before this when they're interviewing the finalists. He asked Liesbeth about the gender thing again, and no amount of but it's special from Art is making her change her mind. So he accuses her of being too nervous for a good interview, and she's just like, I don't actually care about what you're asking me. Like she is maybe one of the most boring people to ever make it to the finale, but she can be really sneaky funny. Like she's not quite Hadewych funny, but Liesbeth is fun.
I was very disappointed that Art did not take the opportunity when Hadewych was like, yeah, I gave birth 3 weeks ago, to make a joke about her having a mini miss. Like, it's an open goal there, Art.
Although that would have made her the Maximinus.
Yeah, very true. So we see Anna-Marie's sabotages. She knew exactly where the money was on the glacier, but it was very easy to sabotage when the rest of the group couldn't read a compass or do distances. She slightly tweaked her map so they never found her money. And she decided not to get the exemptions because it brings suspicion and it's way more fun to shoot everyone. That is a very subtle, good sabotage from Anna-Marie. To go, you know what? I don't need the exemptions because it's a better position for me to be on that bridge and cost them money directly. No amount of production sabotage could actually give her that decision, I would say. So it's very clever from her. I think she's very underrated as a mole, to spoil the end of the episode.
Yeah.
On the bridge, it was like hell with the wind and the hay. She wanted to play against Fritz as he was worth the most money, and she looked fanatic in the end, but she just couldn't hit him and got herself shot on her very expensive leather jacket. Again, Anna-Marie, not short of a bob or two.
No. I love that Dio still doesn't get this challenge.
Yeah, Art grills him about it.
The trick here, Dio, is there's nothing hidden in the hay. The idea is shoot other people, stop them winning exemptions. Spoilers.
So do I eat the hay?
Well, you don't go for a roll in the hay, Logan.
You never know what the horse has done there. On the waterfall stairs, she wanted to participate, but everyone suspected her, so she answered correctly to make herself less suspicious. Martin not knowing his own time cost him the money, and he still doesn't know his own time, even though Art asked him about it, and he's had 6 months to prepare that answer, because it's obviously what Art is going to ask him.
He really didn't care?
No, he didn't give a shit. With the Jeep spelling, she took advantage of Martin's propensity for numbers to at least try and lead him towards the money, but it didn't work. And she didn't bring her glasses on the river jet, so she couldn't read William's sign properly, and him putting the letters close together was something she used against him. Again, very, very clever. On the tandem, she wanted to fill the pot, even though it looked like contestant behaviour. She knew the Hofty House was the next day and wanted something to play with there. And at the Hofty House, she did plead for everyone to stay. Liesbeth realised when chatting to Fritz that it wouldn't be unanimous. Anna-Marie could listen in secret and could barely hide her delight when they drained their own pots. And I'll say now, at the end of episode 4, I was genuinely concerned that you had clocked Anna-Marie's reaction, because she's not subtle at the end of that episode. She grins when Art reveals that third green card. Because I clocked it and I said it to Bindles after the episode recording. I'm like, shit, he's going to have spotted that surely. Yeah, it's not subtle.
I think that was the week you put her in first. And then we made fun of you for, basically using RNG to pick your suspects.
Yeah. So you're welcome, Saunders.
Jeez.
We're getting more and more manipulative with these because it's way more fun for us. She wanted to try and let the majority get a green vote. She knew Fritz would vote red regardless. He didn't care if everyone survived. She voted green. Liesbeth and Fritz were the 2 red votes. And Tim and Hadewych also voted green. A few days before departure, she got lessons on how to shoot a bow and arrow so she'd know how not to do it when it mattered. She took all the glory for earning the €2,500, but Art reveals that it was actually Hadewych who hit the raft. In the abandoned mine thing, she wanted to be one of the last to explore so she could mess everything up that had already been done. However, when she got there, Liesbeth and Tim had already made a mistake during the first round. Liesbeth was the most suspicious, but Anna-Marie didn't actually connect anything other than turning a generator on, and she did nothing to earn any money whatsoever. And as we alluded to earlier, Liesbeth struggling with her lead was actually because it was wrapped around a pole. With the bull challenge, it was terribly heavy. She was given the task of writing everything down and did it on the head so it would be covered. She also threw away some of the chalk so people wouldn't be able to write anything else down. In the bridge challenge, she tried to subvert their expectations of what the mole would predict. She ended up succeeding and removed 500 euros from the pot. And she was genuinely terrified, but wanted to do it to take money from the pot. And in another big brain thing from Hadewych, she was watching how long it took people to chat to Art, and then based her suspicions off of that. And in the bullring maze, she went last, and the only thing she could do was get caught by the man in the bandana, and they left her with the highest amount, so she was delighted. Now, we have loads of hidden clues and stuff. Have you got the rest of the hidden clues out of interest, Bindles?
No, I couldn't find them. Like I found some very short clips of like the sabotages they didn't show, like things like in the snorkel challenge. She basically deliberately ignored one of the photos and then let her partner do all the talking, knowing that Marrett was listening.
Yeah, which was Hadewych, I think.
Yeah, like she, took a step back, knowing that was going to get effed up anyway, which is basically the same as half of the other sabotages here. But I couldn't find any actual like extra hidden clues. We got some good ones in the episode though.
We did.
I like how I assume we didn't see more of the sabotages just because they ran out of time in the reunion.
I'm not sure they did, because it was a pre-recorded one.
Because they were going in chronological order, it seemed like, and then they just stopped after the maze challenge.
Well, there's only one challenge left after that anyway.
Well, yeah, like the maze challenge and then the two challenges after that are Go Fish, which they didn't win any money in, and Anna Marie got the exemption anyway, and the hostage thing, which they won. Like, there's no sabotage after that.
All right, I thought the failed costume challenge there would have been funny. Like, I tried to sabotage it, but it was over in 2 seconds because of Tim.
Oh, that was one of the clips where she basically decided, I'll act as ostentatiously as I can in the plaza, to try and get caught, not realizing that Tim was doing that anyway. So, like, that, yes, they were disguised terribly, but also Anna Marie was pretty much, drawing attention to herself on top of that as well.
Yeah, she was wearing that bright purple scarf, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
One of the hidden clues that they didn't put in was the fact that we heard Christina Milian earlier in the season.
We did?
Yeah, she loved this season because it was all about going from AM to DM.
I see.
Do you want me to do the wrap-up of the clues?
Yeah, you might as well. Saves me talking.
So, basically, every time Art spoke to the group, he started with the word Jungens, which is a homophone of Jung is, as in Anna Marie Jung is the mole. Because he never does that again after this season, I don't think.
No, and also it was deeply awkward that he says guys to a group of women, like he's Jeff Probst.
Yeah, and then at the graffiti challenge, there's AM on the wall behind them at the start, and then Anna Marie ends up at I am at the end, which, is I Anna Marie, but also I am as in I am the mole.
Yeah, I thought Saunders might have clocked that clue, to be honest, because I clocked it at the time. Like, it's not subtle.
I clocked that one. I clocked the stock footage of the boat when they're in the harbour doing the test before the Hofty house. Like, you see the name of the boat, and then the A and the J on the boat are sort of slightly yellowed when all of the other letters are bright white. So, her initials. There's, in the casino thing, there's that weird intro, like, opening credits thing with the slot machines and everything. You get a close-up of a slot machine with A for Ace and J for Jack sort of everywhere. So you get Anna Marie talking about it being the worst fashion mole ever with the snorkel challenge. You get her digging in the sandhill on the glacier, like moles do. And like all the episode titles are clues again, smoke screen because it's what happened when she, stole the credit for the archery thing, self-knowledge because she's imitating Marie-Therese in the art challenge, etc., etc. But the big one is on the banknotes this season. The design of the notes is basically the Demol logo with like the fingerprint background, and sort of in the like next to the word mole, the fingerprint is sort of slightly modified to look like Anna Marie's face.
That's such a good clue because nobody clocked it.
Well, it's a good clue, but also like I looked at this in I got a decent quality version of this episode to try and see what the photo looked like, because like in the Cactus quality episode with the subtitles, it's not great. It's not great in decent quality either. Like, I do not fault them for not getting it.
But I wonder whether them doing this made everyone suspicious about the portrait of Klaas in Dominican Republic.
Yeah, I think it did.
I think that's another thing in the column of Klaas was a little bit unlucky as a mole because they'd already kind of done that clue before. And she says it was the most exciting, adventurous game she's played. She'd do it again in a heartbeat, but she would have to bring a family-sized pack of heartburn pills. It was tougher towards the end when she was sabotaging her friends, and she also knew that everyone suspected her. And Hadewych, as treasurer, still has the pot and gives the euro back to Tim. And as you said, the notes have a small picture of Anna Marie's face next to the mole logo, and none of them ever spotted it. And in the traditional final word slot, of course, we hear from William. Saying nothing. Traditionally, it's either mole or winner who gets that slot, but no, for some reason it was William and his terrible sideburns.
Yep, that's how the season comes to an end. Even though there were 3 women in the finale, let's have the random young male get the final word on the season.
Yeah, it seems oddly appropriate to end a season that's so female-dominated with a young, arrogant male speaking on their behalf, doesn't it?
Yeah. He's their mouthpiece.
Anyway, speaking of young, arrogant men, Logan.
Yeah, speaking of arrogant men, I'm not sure I'd go as far as to say young, but arrogant men. I'll give you credit, Saunders. Your suspicions weren't as bad as last season.
No.
You at least got Anna Marie in first once.
Although, to be fair, he put half the cast in first at least once.
Yeah, you were sort of doing a Martin and playing the odds, but you did it at least once. That's a bit more credit salvage than...
Not John at the bottom every single week.
Yeah, than the debacle of your 1 point in Northern Ireland and John. Do you think you got the Sneaky Tasmanian at any point this season?
Let's see. So I suspected Fritz, Hadewych, Liesbeth. Who else I suspect as Merritt? William. I think I did. I think I got the Sneaky Tasmanian at least once this season.
Question for Bindles. Did Saunders ever get the Sneaky Tasmanian?
God, no.
Who was the Sneaky Tasmanian?
Marion!
Obviously! Do you remember for Northern Ireland Jordan where we made you guess who the Sneaky Belgian was? And
it was Vera who went home first.
It turned out it was Vera who went home first. Well, we thought it'd be fun to just do it again, I'll be honest.
It's like how in Dominican Republic, who's fucking Connor Saunders, one of them was Aaron who went out first.
Yeah.
Like, as fun as the joke is to do it a third time, like, I genuinely did not go out of my way to find something about Marion for that. I just, like, looking through the whole cast, trying to find something interesting, and it happened to be that was the interesting one. But as soon as I noticed and then I'm like, do I really want to do the first person out again? I'm like, yes, I do.
So yeah, in summary, your suspicions weren't great.
But they weren't atrocious.
No, they were. They just weren't as bad as last time. But I guess the final few questions are, how do we feel about Anna Marie as a mole, and how do we feel about this season as a whole?
I'm going to let Logan answer first.
Yeah, as I said at the start, I thought Anna Marie did a great job as a mole. Although it is surprising to hear that pretty much everyone suspected her, aside from Dio. And so, I mean, you can't help but say that that's got to be a little bit of a knock on her if you know, the majority of the cast did have her as a prime suspect. But yet she was still able to get away with a lot of sabotages that they didn't exactly catch on to. It could have just been a case of where she was just naturally suspicious from the beginning, kind of like Kim from Vidum Japan. But I thought some of the sabotages were still fairly clever, and that she was still able to adapt to certain situations, even with there always being that heat on her. So maybe we could classify her as being a bit unlucky in a way, which is having so many people suspect her, and that's why generally in mole rankings she tends to be towards the bottom for a lot of people.
If you were to put her on a tier maker, for example, what rank would you give her?
Probably somewhere around the middle.
No loaded question, given that apparently a notable Malota did a ranking of all 27 moles today that I have in front of me at the moment. So we could technically play your moles right if we wanted to.
Did they put Anna Marie near the bottom?
Anna Marie is a B tier mole, apparently. They had 7 moles in the B tier category, and she was 6th of them. Any guess on who the bottom mole is?
Probably Kim.
Kim is in the C tier. So she's 2 places below Anna Marie on this list.
Be funny if it was somebody who we think is really good, like Yan.
Nah, Jan was an S tier mole. He's third.
I mean, spoilers, all 4 of the STMLs are men.
Yes, they are. And only one of them I agree with. Which is Jan.
Rowan?
Rowan is the 4th mole on this list. He is the 4th one in S tier. Therefore, the list is invalid. They're wrong.
But Rowan sucked so bad.
Yeah, we had this at the time, if you remember.
Yeah.
For some reason, the Dutch mole fans love Rowan and they're wrong about it. The correct answer was Renee as bottom.
Oh, yeah, she wasn't that great.
She wasn't great, but she's not the worst mole of all time.
She's not the worst, but
I think she's sort of in the Anna Marie class sort of section where I think she's okay as a mole. I think just sort of the situation, it wasn't the right season for her to be the mole, if that makes sense.
Yeah, especially the train game. Like, she was unlucky that she was in a group on the train with the only 2 people in the cast who suspected her at that point, and they lost.
Yeah.
One pity about this season is that, yes, Iceland was a backup location, but you know that if they had planned Iceland from the start of production planning, that they could have used Iceland a lot more effectively as a location.
Yeah, I feel like Iceland probably was filled with a lot of challenges that were like, shit, where can we get on short notice? What can we do on short notice? Hence all the all or nothing challenges towards the start of the season and all that sort of stuff.
And all the, the random empty fields.
Yeah, like there's no way they do that smoke signal challenge as a first choice.
Like even something, like the envelope game with the, the money or the ochre. I think even if they had time to plan, I think they would have done that inside a nice building. Like they would have come up with a decent setting for that instead of just a table out in some dude's paddock.
I suspect also they were a bit unlucky with the weather because it was, we assume, like May, June when they filmed this, and it did not feel like May, June.
Yeah, because I was there in just June of this year, and the weather did change 20 times in one day when I was there, but it certainly didn't look as cold and miserable as it did during these episodes. Like, the sun was out most of the time that I was there in those couple of days.
Well, you spent half your time there in the penis museum.
He went visiting our friend's exhibit. That's the excuse he used.
And for some reason, there was a hot dog cart right outside the museum, which still makes me laugh to this day.
Is it like the Nobel Museum where they tell you to pull up a seat?
No, it's like the Guinness Museum where where you get to the top of it and they say, "Do you want a cast of your own dick making?" Weirdly, they do offer that at the Guinness Storehouse, even though it's nothing to do with the actual place itself.
And with this season, you can tell this group wasn't going to be the best in challenges. And production was a little bit harsh with some of the criteria to get them to earn money in the first couple episodes. But when they lose the first 6 challenges in a row, I'm not surprised that production probably made certain modifications, not for every challenge, but enough to where I think they just overestimated the group's abilities. And also they designed some challenges that were just outright impossible to complete, especially early on, which takes away from the season a bit. Like, it's tough to say. We've talked about this before, but it's like, it's not really a sabotage if it's a challenge they were never going to, that they had no chance of winning, not even due to incompetency, but just the way that the challenge is set up.
Yeah. I think this season there's a lot of, there's a big divide between challenges that are winnable and challenges that are not. Like, some of these challenges, they were basically guaranteed to win, like the fish puzzle, like the hostage rescue. And then, there's other challenges where it's, free money, like the envelopes, or there's no money at all, like go fish. But then there's challenges where they had no chance. Like, they were never going to get the glacier challenge. They were never going to get, the generators. They really had no chance with the skies challenge just because of the time of day and, all that sort of stuff that made Plaza de España empty. But I think this season there's more of a divide between the gettable and the not gettable challenges than usual. And I think that hinders how we feel about Anna Marie a little bit as well, because if they're definitely going to win this challenge, they're definitely going to lose this challenge, then it's really the challenges in the middle. They're the only ones that Anna Marie or somebody else pretending to be the mole can really impact in any decent way. And I don't think there were a lot of those challenges this season.
I think going back to the casting point as well, this cast is not especially dynamic.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's the case that they're unlucky with who survives long into the season. I think just the cast is a bit more normal than
Yeah.
normal.
Aside from Hadewych.
Yeah, like Hadewych is a star, obviously. She's a fantastic winner. It's a delight that she won. But I think everyone she's surrounded by is a bit more subdued and average.
Yeah, like Marianne and Marat are basically interchangeable, even though one of them lasts 5 times as long as the other one.
Especially on the potato quality episodes.
Yeah. Like, those two don't really do anything. Martin is okay for about half an episode, but doesn't really do anything. Fritz is way more of a background character than I remembered. Tim is definitely the lesser part of his comedy trio/duo. Even like Liesbeth is a quiet character. Anna Marie, I think if she wasn't the mole, I think we probably wouldn't remember her nearly as well as we do. Like, I think it's a not great cast anyway, but when you combine that with challenges that don't really let them shine at a location that they all hate, I think it was an uphill battle for the season to be as good as it was. But like, they made something decent, and we had a lot of fun doing it.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, after El Salvador, Nicaragua, after Japan, after even Northern Ireland, Jordan, even though the cast hated Northern Ireland, there was enough crazy people and enough good challenges in that season that you can kind of overlook it. Where I don't think all of the things you would use to forgive, like a bad cast or whatever, are present in this season. So I think this one definitely feels like a step down compared to what's come, the 2-3 seasons before it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the following 2 seasons, especially, South Africa definitely course corrects on the casting. Maybe not on the challenges, but definitely on the casting. And Hong Kong, Philippines certainly does.
Yeah.
I think the other part that may, just with this cast, is that because usually the mole forms coalitions or alliances with the other people in the game, and it's really hammered over and over again that Anna Marie just kept to herself all season. And when a mole is so isolated from everybody else, as isolated as the country of Iceland, that also, I think, negatively impacted the season as well.
Yeah, I suspect that's probably part of why everybody was on her so quickly. Like, if everyone in the group is sharing everything and one person isn't, that one person probably has something to hide. Like, I think a lot of people were very quick to come to that conclusion. Not Dio, obviously. But, like, I think that sort of probably explains why everybody seemed to be on her, at least by the time Martin went home.
And that's something that would happen during filming, but maybe not so much on TV. If you're there in person, it could have been maybe 10 times more obvious of just how much Anna Marie was keeping to herself. And maybe she does deserve to be ranked a lot lower in terms of, like, if she's a mole on location, just how easy she made it for everyone else to figure it out who it was. But in terms of a TV product, that's not as apparent to the audience of like what goes on the other 23 hours of filming outside of the challenges, since challenges occupy most of the episodes, challenges, quiz, and execution. So we only see maybe 3-4 minutes of what goes on for the other, like, out of the other 23 hours of the day for the contestants.
Yeah, it's like Survivor, how, there are certain sections of the community who sort of think, okay, you have to make big moves and do all the, the really big flashy strategy sort of stuff.
The idiots, we call them.
Yeah, certain people who have a podcast, those sort of people who think, you need to have the big moves, the flashy strategy, the fancy stuff, not realizing that it's a social game. And, the social game is just as important as that sort of stuff. And I think maybe Anna Marie kind of didn't realize that a little bit. Like, I think the mole is as much about, the challenges and your sabotaging as well as how you can con the group. And I don't think she conned the group very well.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's just because this group is, wasn't a great fit for her, whether she might have been better in another season, like if you switched her with Susan or whatever in Hong Kong, Philippines, she might have done a little bit better, connecting to people like Arf and Menifer and whatever. She certainly would have had more fun annoying Tigo. But like I think she herself is an okay choice as a mole. I think this was the wrong season to pick somebody like her as the mole.
Yeah, I think this season gets a bit of a bad rep, and I don't know that it's necessarily deserved. but there's some odd choices. Like, they did a genuinely very good edit to get around Anna-Marie being so isolated from the rest of the group, for example. We
Yeah.
didn't really get that impression. Obviously, there were little breadcrumbs of it through the season, but it feels like there was a distinctly different feeling on location than actually in the edited episodes we saw. So the
Yeah.
editors did a very good job of hiding that and fooling Canadians 13 years down the line.
Yeah.
That was their goal all along.
It was. I mean, that's all of our goals all the time.
But yeah, I think this season gets a bad rep. I think it's a very interesting season historically because of the very last minute change because of the Arab Spring. But I think it's also negatively remembered because it's sandwiched between a season that we love in El Salvador, Nicaragua, where everyone is just bonkers, and a season that is very popular in the fandom, which is South Africa 1. With good and bad reasons. Like, I agree with some of it. Some of the casting is fab. Some of them, not so much. One of whom is maybe rumoured for Renaissamce. And by the time this comes out, we'll know if they are back for Renaissamce, but they're certainly rumoured. So I think this is more of a forgotten season. And like, there's a lot of aspects of art that are very, very unpolished compared to what you remember of art being like the showman in the circus in Georgia and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Like, it's a fine season. I sort of think, basically just about everything went wrong in the season, but they still salvaged it. Like, it's not like a Dominican Republic where, some things went well, but other things didn't. But the things that didn't killed the season. I think just about everything went wrong this season, but nothing went wrong in a way that was severe enough to tank the thing.
It didn't, nothing that broke the season.
Yeah. Like, maybe Morocco would have been more exciting than Iceland, but it would have been a lot of desert, let's be honest.
Yeah, it would have been finding a plane wreckage in the desert to begin with.
Yeah.
So, are we done for the season?
It's gone.
Yeah.
I think that's it then. So, thank you for listening to our Beast to Mole 2012 recaps all season long. We'll be back very soon, presumably in a couple of weeks, but depends on their schedule, to discuss De Mole België season 14. Who knows where it's going to be, because we sure as hell don't. Don't forget you can contact us on pretty much every social media platform that isn't TikTok, where we are RTV Warriors. You can email us and contact at rtvwarriors.com. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/rtvwarriors and get early access to future Historians episodes that we may or may not do. Thank you, as always, to That Dark Spark for the season of subtitles and Marika, of course, because she's a legend. We will see you very, very soon. And for the final time this season, I mean this with all of my heart. Fuck you, Logan, and fuck you, Donna.
Yeah.
Peace out and just chill till the next flavoring.
I'm going to go get wrapped around a pole.